Good morning. I say good morning. Might not be morning where you're at or you watching this. I've been awake for an hour and a half. It's currently 4:45, and I just reviewed two shorter videos that I took yesterday while I was out and about. I was driving home from work, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could not upload every single video that I take, and that I could take a video and then delete it out if it wasn't what I actually wanted to communicate, and just learn from it. Because one of the things that I mentioned in the videos that I took yesterday, which I have since deleted, which I'm not going to be uploading, was that there's a value in doing this video blogging thing, even if nobody watches these video blogs except for me. And then therefore it becomes a win-win, and I'm able to learn about myself a little bit more in terms of my communication. I get better. They say 70% of communication is nonverbal. So it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And there's this show that I watched several years ago. I don't know why they stopped producing it, and unless it was a little bit too good, a little bit too revelatory. But the show was Lie to Me, and it was that was the name of it. It was Lie to Me, and the premise of the show was you've got this behavioral psychologist who has traveled all over the world, and he's studied all these different cultures and the way that people, body language, facial expressions, gestures that are universal. He develops a baseline to where he can tell with very subtle differences in how somebody tenses the muscles around their eyes, or they're just a little bit of a stretching back of the mouth, or upturning of the nose, or what have you. What are those little subtle individual gestures mean? And for the purpose of the show, he starts a consulting firm. This is fiction, by the way, but I think it's based on an actual psychologist, based on some real life stuff. But he starts this consulting firm where he and these people that he's training to do this with him, they get brought in by, let's say, the police or the FBI or whoever, and they're supposed to help them interview witnesses, suspects, and figure out who's telling the truth and who's lying based on this science. And all that relates to the video blogging thing, because I've been told many times over the years that one of the problems with debating on Facebook or writing about highly emotionally charged topics, let's say politics, or if you're dealing with social issues, you're dealing with interpersonal conflict, that the hazard in writing about those things is that most people are not very good at reading. Even if you put a lot of skill into word choice and all of that, you're very, very careful, and it's clear objectively what you were trying to say, people can so easily misunderstand what you're trying to say because they don't have all the nonverbal communication to supplement that they're used to relying on in most of their daily communication. So, quite honestly, I've alienated a lot of people over the years with my Facebook activity, with my blogging. I've also made other people admire me somehow. And I was telling my dad the other day, I think I'm kind of a polarizing figure. And the people that like me, they really, really like me. And the people that don't like me just can't stand me. And that's as may be, whatever. Hopefully I am clear in what I stand for and what I'm about. And the people that are allies, the people that are enemies, they've made an informed choice, I hope. But on the other hand, I hate the thought of misunderstanding and of people that I want to be on my side and I want to be on their side. We want to be in the same corner, being crossways just because they maybe didn't understand where I was coming from. Maybe, if that nonverbal communication was the essential element that would have helped them to unlock what I was trying to say in writing the past 3.5 years, 12 years, whatever, then this video blogging maybe becomes a way for me to personalize. My wife said that last night. I nagged my poor dear wife. She's a very patient woman. I don't know how she puts up with me. I nagged her like crazy to watch the video blogs that I'd produced so far. And she's busy. She's the mother of 6 children, and then the seventh the seventh takes a different kind of work right now since she's pregnant with John. She doesn't have to, directly supervise and give him instructions or anything quite yet like she's got the other 6, but anyway, she's got her hands full. And I was asking, hey, like, if you get a minute, can you watch these video blogs? If I can't even get my own wife to watch them, man, it's like, I'm really dull, really boring. How am I going to get anybody else to watch these? But she finally watched a couple. I think she'd watched one the first day, and to her credit, and to be fair, one was 44 minutes, then another was 50. So that's a time commitment, but it was one of the things that she said in her feedback. She said, I wonder if some of the people that haven't quite understood or known how to take your writing, maybe now they get a little bit of a better idea of who you are and what you mean when you write this or that. If they can hear it, you saying very similar things, being consistent in your video blogging, but then they can also see your body language, they can see your facial expressions, they know that's how you talk. I'm not maybe that'll help some people smooth some things over, and I hope so. One of the things that I said in the 2 videos that I deleted out here from yesterday was that one of the original goals with writing for On the Rocks blog back in 2015 when we first started planning that. You know, one of my cousins, he loves outlining, he loves planning things, he loves having it all organized, and I think I have driven the poor man nuts because I just wing it. I just, you know, uh, he would ask, what are your goals and plans, guys, for this? And my response was always just very general and very non-specific and not measurable, but on the other hand, attainable. I came up with a goal for the blog that was a win-win, and it wasn't, I want to have this many viewers, readers, visitors to the site. I want to have this much content posted this often. We tried some goals like that, especially the posting so often, but it just didn't seem to work very well. My goal was, I just want to become a better writer and to clarify my thinking on these issues, whatever we're talking about. And I want to choose my topics based on what do I not feel confident I know enough about. And not just know, to understand. There's this big difference, this wide gulf between knowing and understanding. You can know something without appreciating the significance of it. And you can know several things without necessarily knowing how to connect the dots and understanding how those two, 3, 4 elements are related to each other. And I want to understand how to connect the dots. So, in writing, in this video blogging, if I can connect the dots, not only for other people, right? If you're watching this, great. Thank you. I hope you get something out of it. I hope I can connect some dots for you, and maybe something I say sparks an interest in a given subject, or sparks a dialogue, and you want to talk about it, and we learn and grow and all that. Great. But if I am thinking out loud, and then I'm able to go back and do some honest self-evaluation and realize, what, that's maybe I need to develop that a little bit better. That's in my head, it sounded like a fully mature idea, but when I really hear myself play it back, that needs some work. Or on the flip side, you suppose you're panning for gold. You get a sifter. Guys used to, 100 years ago, I think they still do it. You get this pan, and you scoop up a bunch of sediment from a river, and you're sifting it. And what you want is for the worthless mud and water and rocks of no value to come out, but you want to find gold, real gold, because gold has value. And you don't want to sift out the gold. You want to keep the gold. But you have to be paying attention. You have to be, for one thing, throwing away what doesn't work, and then for another thing, you've got to be looking at what you've got there. And so, this video blogging thing, I think it's okay to have personal development goals in mind, and for me to have maybe a little bit of, I hesitate to say selfish goals. I don't think it's selfish, actually. And in watching one of the videos that I have put out so far, one of the 4, I was reminded of back in high school in Bible study, and this gal said one time, because I was talking about whatever our topic was that night, and I had some observations and something that I felt like was going to benefit others to mention. And the remark was made that, Garrett just likes to hear himself talk. And everybody laughed. And I was kind of like, and it you could say, well, you just need to have a better sense of humor, but it kind of wounded me. I mean, to the point that I still remember that years and years later. And I think look, there's on the one hand what my mom used to quote to me all the time: even a fool, when he keeps silent, is esteemed wise. Better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. I get it. But, on the other hand, when I listen to other people, and I spend quite a bit of time listening to other people's conversation, and you think about how much small talk there is in the world. Hey, how are you doing? Great. How about this weather? Yeah, I know, right? And we're talking about nothing. I mean, the sun is up. Atmosphere, moisture, temperature. Like, okay, cool. Moving on, Marcus Aurelius has a quote that I just came across here in recent weeks, and it, let me find it here, look on my Pinterest. It's my little catalog, my way of organizing all the cool things I find in picture form. Marcus Aurelius says, "The secret of all victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious." I talked a little bit about Fingerspitzengefühl, this German word that Erwin Rommel was fond of. It was a concept. And the German, it means fingertip feeling. Robert Greene, in his book, The 33 Strategies of War, talks about Fingerspitzengefühl and Erwin Rommel, and how voracious an appetite Rommel had for battlefield intelligence, information. He loved getting scouting reports, getting as much detail as he could, and he would just constantly gimme. But what that enabled him to do with the way that his mind worked, with the way his decision-making process worked as a battlefield commander, highly successful battlefield commander, he was able to sense when the tide of a battle was shifting or was about to shift. And so you take a not obvious, trivial, what seems to everybody else to be a trivial detail, and you extrapolate out from that, because you know that it signifies, it points to something bigger and more important, and then that allows you to anticipate what's going to happen next, and then you get to skate to where the puck is going to be instead of skating to where the puck is. And so he did, and he would anticipate what the enemy was going to do, he would anticipate what his own troops were going to do, and then he could give instructions and orders accordingly to not just take advantage of the opportunities that existed, but to anticipate opportunities that were about to exist, and to create opportunities even. There's a quote, I think it comes up on Civilization 6. This strategy game. I've kind of taken a break from it here. I played quite a bit over the past several years. My brother got it for me for my birthday, I think back in 2016, 2015, something like that, whenever it came out. And there's this quote, because you've got, so the premise of the game, if you're unfamiliar, is you choose one of these great civilizations from world history. So let's take Rome, for instance. You get to play the Roman Empire, and you take them from 4000 BC through the years, and you just have a little settler and a little warrior, and you found your city, and you build more cities, and you grow your cities, and you research technology, you develop a culture, you choose your government, you expand out, you build a military, you cultivate your land, and you do all these things, and then you interact with other civilizations that are growing around you, and you have to kind of vie for territory and for compete for world wonders, and have this technological, race that goes on where you're trying to stay abreast of developments, not get too far. You don't want to be the guy with bows and arrows when the other guy's got artillery and firearms. But each technology that you research in the game, they have these little quotes that come up that go along with or convey kind of an idea, a concept, a sentiment about that technology. And it's just it adds a little bit of flavor to the game, and there's a number of quotes that I've picked up because I played the game so many times, and you hear these quotes over and over and over again. But one of the quotes is, "Do not strike while the iron is hot, but make it hot by striking." And I'm probably paraphrasing, but in any event, this video blogging, writing for On the Rocks, debating with people on Facebook, really anything that I'm trying to do in life. It isn't like I come to the river with my sifting pan and just right away, the first dip, gold. Just, a whole sifter full of gold. But on the flip side of that, if you read biographies of influential persons, of people that amounted to anything, if you read the Bible as a Christian, you read about these heroes of the faith, as we commonly refer to them. All of them were imperfect and fallible, and they had vices, and they had blind spots, and none of them came to the river and just dipped their sifter in and came up with gold right away. Except Jesus. But I don't think that counts. You think about the parable of the sower. You don't throw seeds on the ground and then immediately have a harvest. You have to be patient. You throw seeds down, and you hope for good soil, and you water, and hope you have some good weather, good temperatures, and you're patient. The parable of the sower, the one sowing is sowing in all these different places. He must have a lot of seed to go around. But if God's like that, if that's an analogy to the gospel being preached and all of that, then it's not like we should just waste our energies on unproductive things that we're not good at, have no interest in. But on the other hand, the parable of the talents tells us that refusing to invest what God's given you, when He's given you some ability, some opportunity, some what have you, and He expects you to make use of it, refusing to invest that, just burying it. God has no respect's not the right word, but He doesn't applaud that. He doesn't pat you on the back for burying what He's given you, wasting it. In the parable of the talents, the master returns after having given 3 servants varying amounts of money to invest. He gives him the money, he says, go invest this, and he leaves. And when he comes back, 2 of the servants have invested the money, and they've made profit. And it's not equal profit, and they weren't given equal amounts to invest initially. The 3rd servant is given an amount of money, and rather than investing it, he goes and digs a hole, and he buries the money. And when the master asks him about it, he says, I knew you were a hard man who reaps where he did not sow. And the master's reply to that is, you wicked servant. And he takes the money and he gives it to one of the other 2 that was actually investing. I do not want to be the servant who buries his talents. I'm getting more comfortable already. If I added these up, there's an hour and 5 minutes, hour and a half, 2 hours and 15 minutes so far worth of videos up on YouTube that I've posted the past 2 days. And however long this one ends up being, if I post this too, then, maybe it's 3 hours total. I'm getting more comfortable. I watched my 4th video that I did yesterday and compared that to the first video that I did. Much, much better. And my wife said that too. She said she likes the videos that I'm doing where I'm home and I'm sitting at my desk like this. So that's much, much better, much less distracting. And that I should also try and wake up before the kids. Maybe she's not distracted by the kids, maybe other people are. But that's real life. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Still haven't gotten any feedback, really. One gentleman I've recently become acquainted with said that he enjoyed the most recent video, at least, but he's interested in my life, and he wants to know, where I'm from and what I'm about. He came across my blog and was reading through a lot of my articles here in the past several weeks, and it got connected that way, and he's been encouraged by my writing, and that's cool. You know, I'm excited to hear that. That's very encouraging for me to keep at it. You know, another gal, actually, so far, one person has contributed to the GoFundMe page for On the Rocks. And that one gal has given me feedback on the video blog thing. She said she watched the first half of one of them, and she said it was interesting to see, you know, hear about where I come from, what my faith background is, and whatnot. So that was cool. My wife's given me feedback. So far, that's all I'm working off of. And then, like I said, I'm learning about maybe how people perceive me. The videos so far, I see different facial expressions that I'm making at different points, especially when I'm in between sentences and I'm not sure what I'm going to say next. The first video is obvious. My biggest problem was saying and because I was nervous and I was deciding, I was trying to think about how do I want to go about this. Am I going to make an idiot of myself? Still haven't broken myself of the uhs and the ums yet. In the videos that have followed that first one, I've gotten much better about saying and I haven't broken myself completely, but I've gotten much better. But I have noticed also there's different facial expressions that I make, and different body language. You know, if I'm sitting up straight, if I'm talking with my hands, is that contributing? Is that detracting from what I'm trying to say? Is it making it distracting for you as the viewer? You know, these are things that I wouldn't necessarily know about the way that I communicate in everyday life, except that I've now taken these videos and I'm watching them, and I'm seeing that these are maybe the ways that I'm communicating. And I'm enjoying this process in a similar but different enough way to my writing process, because when I write an article, this was especially true early on, an issue's bothering me and I want to wrestle with it. I want to grapple with what should my attitude be, what are the facts, how do I organize those facts, what's significant, what's first importance, what's the secondary importance. And you write it out and you look at it and you say, okay, great. You know, now I have a place to start. I'm going to lay all my cards on the table, and then I'm going to look at, what do I actually have here? What can I make of this? And I've been able to refine and sharpen and mature and grow my own thinking on different topics thereby. And it's made me want to go and learn more and talk more with people that know, and ask questions and investigate and all that, so that for one, so I didn't make a fool of myself by saying things that weren't accurate or true, and for another thing, because I wanted to be able to bring that and contribute that, bring something meaningful for other people, to share with other people. So also with this, one of the things I'm thinking about doing as a way of carrying this video blogging thing forward is, you know, my morning routine. I wake up, I have my cup of coffee, and open up Drudge Report. Open up Pinterest. Open up Facebook. and scroll through the various feeds for, half an hour, my first coffee cup, find 2 or 3 things that, maybe even find one thing from each. Because those 3 platforms are very different. Drudge Report, curated by Matt Drudge, a collection of articles and videos from all over the web. It's like a highlight front page collection of what are the big news stories right now. Very interesting way to just get kind of a big overview picture of what's going on in the world. I like it. Pinterest, you've got all of these ideas and concepts in picture form, and you got everything on there, right? And I have a pretty big Pinterest account. I've got 43,000 pins or something like that. I've got all these different quotes from philosophers and writers and different people, and I've got just different things that amuse me that I think are funny. I've got ideas for how I'd like to build my house someday. God willing, I live and do this or that, but I get some money and I can design and build my own custom house for my family. And I've got, boards for inspiration for different elements I'm going to want to combine. And, I've got a huge board for history. My history board is, how big? 4,544 pins. I've got a zoology board that's 3,183 pins. I've got various boards. Anyway, not to bore you with that, but, very interesting things. There's a whole world of ideas and pictures on there that you can scroll through, and, different connected, and you can organize them, and it's fun. It's different. So I might go through that feed, and might go through my Facebook feed and see what different people are posting on there as far as articles or thoughts, and just take an element from each and just talk about over my second cup of coffee. How do these things relate, or what are some of the possible combinations of these things taken together? What could we learn? What new insight could we have into how to live our lives with more intentionality, with greater effectiveness? Yeah. All victory depends on the organization. I'm sorry, misquoting. I'm pulling it up because this is one of the things I've got on my Pinterest account. I've got a board for wisdom. It's all these quotes and sayings that struck me as smart stuff. Marcus Aurelius: the secret of all victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious. I think about Legos, right? So I grew up playing with Legos, kept whatever Legos of mine didn't get sucked into the vacuum or dropped into little cracks and crevices in the homes that I lived in as a kid. Kept the lion's share of my Legos from childhood, and then gave those to my kids, and then in addition to those, I've added Lego sets to the collection over in recent years. I'll go to Walmart and do the grocery shopping for my wife, and I'll text her or call her, and I'll say, hey, who's been the most helpful today, the most obedient, the kindest to their siblings, who's gone above and beyond among our children, And she'll say, well, Josiah's been super helpful today, or Eli just did this thing that I didn't even ask him to, but it was really nice, and Daniel was just the sweetest earlier, and Solomon, he was doing this really, really nice thing for Enoch or for Evelyn, or whatever, fill in the blank. And then I'll pick out a Lego set for them, not an expensive one, just something, just a gesture, pick out a Lego set that makes me think of them, and something that we don't have yet, and I'll bring that home, and that is kind of a little carrot to encourage them to keep at it, to not just do the bare minimum, but to strive to go above and beyond, and all that. But the great thing, what I really, really like about Legos is they're not linear. You get 100 pieces of Legos, and goodness gracious, there's a million ways, probably literally a million ways you could combine those 100 Lego pieces to build any number of things. And it really just comes down to, do you have the imagination? Do you have the interest? Do you want to take those Lego pieces and put them together? Are you wanting to create something meaningful and fun? And, I think so also with information. Historically, there have been a few exceptionally bright individuals who were able to contribute to discoveries in multiple fields. There's a term, polymath. And a polymath is somebody who is a recognized expert in several fields. And so you take Leonardo da Vinci, this exceptionally skilled artist and inventor. Knowledgeable about several different subjects. I believe Benjamin Franklin is considered to be a polymath. But so much of learning today, in today's world, has to do with becoming obsessively, narrow-mindedly focused on one particular subject, to the point where you're not studying other things. You don't just, and I like to organize with more specificity too. I have a big board for zoology on Pinterest, for instance. 3,183 pens right now. If I click on it, I've got everything broken down into sections. There are 15 sections currently. I've got birds, cats, deer, reptiles, dogs, bugs, primates, bears, elephants, amphibians, antelope, giraffes, rhinoceros, hippopotamus, buffalo. And then there's different other animals that don't fit into those categories that are just kind of sprinkled around. And it's fine. I mean, you have a big category, you get into smaller categories of knowledge and learning, and that's part of learning, is knowing which compartments to put things into and how to organize the information. The secret of all victory is the organization of the non-obvious. But it's critical for us to advance, to understand, to do something meaningful with the information that we're taking in. It's critical that we pause for reflection on how things are connected. Yeah. So anyway, I'm at 45 minutes now. It's now 5:30. I think I'm going to leave it there for this episode. Still developing, still refining what I'm going to do with this video blog. I think this is a neat way to do it. I think too, my wife said me driving is a distraction for the couple of videos that I did while I was in the truck. And I'm sure she's right. It also, it's a distraction for the viewer. It's not ideal if I'm bumping along down the road and the phone keeps jostling and it's shaking the image, and that's not ideal. But one thing I might do is what I just did this morning, where I took a couple of videos yesterday and rewatched them once I got home, and whatever elements I was able to learn about, hey, I don't like the way that I'm presenting myself here. I struggled for what I was going to say here. This right here, I do want to say that. That's, and draw that out and develop it, build on it a bit more. And that might be the way that I move forward with this, where I use my smartphone to come up with a draft while I'm out and about on my way to work. And then once I get home, review that and take a video from the safety and stability of my desk, my computer desk. And then that becomes the final version. We'll see. If you have suggestions, I'm open to them. If not, or even if so, I'll figure it out. So, thank you for watching, and until next time.